there, soulmates. Want to welcome you to another edition of FOXSOUL's Black Report. Plenty to discuss today. It is Tuesday. We're following the latest on Jamie Foxx's recovery. Lots of talk about that today. And the Black bridal shop that's been engaged with more customers since their Shark Tank appearance. I'm Courtney Hicks.
And I'm Nicordelai Corte. Plus, we're keeping an eye on Florida as they pass yet another discrimination bill and why more Black workers are worried about layoffs. They're the stories that impact our people.
Yeah, we're going to bring you our news, our views, and our voice. So topping our news today, let's go to St. Louis. Top prosecutor wants to overturn the conviction of a man who spent 33 years in prison for a murder he claims he did not commit. Witnesses who testified against him admitted they were forced to lie. St. Louis Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner filed a motion to set aside Christopher Dunn's first-degree murder conviction, citing, quote, clear and convincing evidence of his innocence. The state attorney general's office has yet to respond. Meanwhile, Gardner has been under fire from critics who say that under her watch, too many cases have gone unpunished, victims and their families are left uninformed, and that her office is too slow to take on cases. Gardner said the attacks were politically and racially motivated. However, she did announce that she will resign next month.
You know, and Courtney, this is rare. It's rare that a prosecutor makes it their business to overturn wrongful convictions. She did it once and she can do it again. She succeeded in February in getting the court to set aside a conviction for a man named Lamar Johnson, who spent 3 decades in prison. That's a big deal. I want to remind our soulmates that Gardner is St. Louis's first Black prosecutor, and she has caught all kinds of heck, trying to do right by the community and administer justice fairly. And there are a lot of folks that suspect that part of the reason she's being pushed out is because she is bringing a sense of fairness to that office. She's not just rubber stamping cases that the police bring to her. She is she and her office have been very diligent and very suspicious, of cases that don't really have a case.
Yeah, she has addressed her critics by saying, look, she feels as though they are politically motivated. It is going to be sad to see her go, someone who looks like us, someone who definitely is invested in our voice, in our interest. She's a Democrat. This governor who will appoint the next district attorney, general attorney rather, is Republican, and there's a possibility that that next appointment won't look like us or sound like us or take on some of our grievances as Black folks. So it's unfortunate that she has decided to resign, but hopefully it's a long shot, but maybe the governor will be fair in who he appoints next.
But it's also another reminder of the outsized role that local prosecutors play in administering justice. There's a reason why prosecutors like the one down in Georgia, like the prosecutor in New York, and now this prosecutor in St. Louis, there's a reason why a lot of folks on the right have been looking over their shoulder every step of the way and have been trying to scuttle what progress they're trying to make in terms of administering justice fairly to all of us. Moving along, Texas has sent more migrants to Vice President Harris's Washington residence over the weekend, shortly after the expiration of the Title 42 rule that allows swift expulsion of asylum seekers. Video footage captured migrants arriving from Del Rio, Texas, and disembarking at the Naval Observatory. Governor Greg Abbott had previously bused over 17,000 migrants to sanctuary cities, with more than 9,200 directed to Washington. This isn't the first time Abbott has sent migrants to Harris's residence, drawing criticism from Democrats and local officials. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas condemned Abbott's program as politically motivated. Mayor Eric Adams and then Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot expressed concerns about their city's ability to accommodate more migrants.
It is so petty. It is so very petty. And what I'm most concerned about, it is inhumane. I mean, you never know the stories of these immigrants as they crossed on over into our country, and to then bust them to even more uncertainty about their well-being, and their fate, and put them on the doorsteps of politicians is absolutely ludicrous, and it's unfortunate.
And it's interesting that a lot of the cities that Governor Abbott seems to be targeting are cities with black mayors. We're talking about New York, Chicago, LA, among others. And so there are a lot of folks that detect there is an ulterior motive afoot, a political motive that is afoot that isn't right. And I think we forget these are people that are fleeing political persecution. They are fleeing violence in their home countries. And, asylum is a human right. And so to make it to the United States border and to be treated like a political pawn and sometimes have your family split up between different cities, it's wrong. Yes, we need to address some of the inequities in our immigration system. We need to update our asylum system, but we can do so by treating people humanely, and that's something that this governor just seems hell-bent on not doing.
Yeah, and using them as ping pongs. It's absolutely deplorable. It really is. All right, let's move on here. The Supreme Court will review whether South Carolina's congressional districts discriminate against black voters. A lower court found intentional redrawing to diminish Democratic leaning black voters. The decision is expected before the 2024 elections, impacting control of the House. Republicans claim partisan motives, not race, guided the redistricting. Civil rights groups have sued, calling the adopted plan unfair to black voters.
Yeah, I mean, this is really going to be a very important case to watch because it will be taken up during the 2024 election cycle. We know that right now the House of Representatives is closely divided. We know that Republicans have a razor slim majority. And so if the courts decide that these lines were redrawn unfairly to dilute the power of black folks, that could work in the favor of Democrats who are going to be doing everything they can to try and win back the House of Representatives.
We've been talking about redistricting for a while now because, it kind of floats into the area of conspiracy because, the folks on the other side, they know exactly what it does and how it affects our communities and our power to vote, which they know is very powerful. Our vote has always been powerful, no matter how many measures they take to sort of kind of dismiss or diminish it. So, this redistricting fight, I think, will continue, and it'll probably get even hotter as we enter into a new election season.
Yeah, it's also going to be interesting to see whether or not the Republicans' defense in this case, whether or not that holds. They're saying, look, we redrew the maps, but we redrew them based upon partisanship, based upon political affiliations in terms of party, not because of race. And the other
side is calling BS, though.
Because they're saying in South Carolina, in this particular district, it just so happens, that these folks happen to be Republican and happen to be mostly white. And so this is going to be an important case to watch because you better believe there are going to be copycat cases that emerge in red states across the country.
I agree.
Federal prosecutors have requested the dismissal of corruption charges against former Tallahassee Mayor Andrew Gillum. Gillum, the 2018 Democratic nominee for Florida governor, was acquitted of lying to the FBI, but faced other unresolved counts, including conspiracy and wire fraud. Prosecutors allege that Gillum and his co-defendant misused campaign funds for personal purposes. The Justice Department filed a motion to dismiss the charges, and the judge's decision is pending. Gillum maintains his innocence, claiming the charges were politically motivated.
And Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has signed a bill to defund diversity, equity, and inclusion programs at state universities. In a tweet, DeSantis stated that he has no place, or DEI rather, has no place in public institutions and aims to impose orthodoxy on universities. Critics argue that this move disregards the importance of teaching culturally relevant history and equal rights. The bill bans universities from participating in lessons that distort historical events offense or promote identity politics. It also prohibits teaching based on the theories of systemic racism, sexism, oppression, or privilege. The decision has, of course, sparked both support and backlash on social media.
Wow, so interesting. He's talking about people distorting history and distorting facts and things, and that appears to be what he is doing. Governor DeSantis said, quotes, "If you look at the way that this has actually been implemented across the country, DEI is better viewed as standing for discrimination, exclusion, and indoctrination." I mean, I can't think of a more distorted view of diversity, equity, and inclusion than that. And this is the deal. You know, Governor DeSantis is rumored to be mulling over a bid for the White House. You know, whether he wins or not, if he wages a campaign for the White House, we can expect a whole lot of this. You know, this is a governor that is really proud of the fact that he has been leading these sort of culture war issues in our country. And he's not trying to make America great again, as Trump has attempted to do in his own warped view. He's trying to make America Florida. That's what he's trying to do.
Listen, every time this comes up, and it's come up quite often because it's such a hot button, you know, there's no way you can erase the history. We have established that our history is American history. Now, whether Dude and all his constituents want to understand that, believe it, fight against it, that's up to them. Politically, as a culture, yeah, we're going to have to continue to fight for our stories to be told. But, you know, in the spiritual realm, as we like to tap into as a culture, you know, I believe that the ancestors will raise up and help us fight the good fight. There's no way you can just erase what has been done. You can go ahead and deny it and try to fix it and serve it a different way, but you can never erase what has happened. And that is what keeps me, you know, motivated and encouraged, even when they're able to seemingly make a little bit of progress with this movement.
Well, as my grandmother said, my grandmother was now with the ancestors, and she said you got to pray with your hands.
That's right.
And pray with your feet.
That's
and
right.
might I add, you got to get to that ballot box because, you know, can you imagine a world where the 3/5 doctrine, the idea that we are, as black people in this country, 3/5 of a person?
Yeah.
Can you imagine that coming back? I certainly could imagine somebody like a Governor DeSantis
That's what they're trying to work their way
like
back to, really.
Just
I agree with you on that.
Well, in South Florida, jury has found McDonald's and a franchise holder at fault in a case where a hot chicken McNugget from a Happy Meal caused second-degree burns to a little girl's leg. The split decision holds the franchise holder liable for negligence, while McDonald's USA is held liable for not providing safe handling instructions. Another jury will decide the compensation for the child and her mother. The case draws parallels to the famous hot coffee lawsuit of the 1990s. The family's lawyers argued the nugget's temperature exceeded 200 degrees, while the defense claimed it was below 160 degrees. The girl, who is autistic, did not testify.
Wow, I feel like that chicken nugget had to come right out of the grease to do that much damage, and obviously it was too hot, and the baby's skin was burned. And you brought up the 90s hot coffee. That was a huge suit, and this is way before social media. We're talking maybe, I remember it because we talked about it. I was a student at Michigan State. We talked about it in class. It might have been like 91, 92, right up in there. But it was a huge conversation without social media, and she was elderly, and she was receiving coffee from the drive-thru, and it spilled in her lap, all kind of skin grafts and things she had to have, and she died maybe 10 or so years later after that. They don't know if it had anything to do with what she went through, but she got like over $600,000. So that's why that case was so huge, and it's a little reminiscent of this case here is a little reminiscent of that, but clearly it was a huge case, and it's unfortunate for this young baby, but it does bring back some memories.
Yeah. Now the folks over at McDonald's, at least this franchise owner, was saying that, you know, they need the McNugget to be fried that hot in order to prevent any sort of salmonella type issues. But, you know, this is the first time I'm learning, you know, a McNugget has to get to 160 degrees, 200 degrees, you know, in order to be edible. It kind of makes you rethink the chicken nugget for a minute. Chicken nuggets I have enjoyed for many years.
So many people
with a little hot mustard sauce, you know, give you what you need.
And McDonald's coffee is infamous too. You know, lot of people start their day with a cup of McDonald's coffee. That's why that case was so huge. They're calling it like product liability. That's what she was able to sue on, and I think that has something to do with why they were able to win this case as well.
Yeah, well, I hope that mom and daughter
are okay,
are feeling better and feeling relieved and believed.
All right, actor Jamie Foxx is recovering well after an undisclosed medical complication last month. TMZ reported that he is currently receiving treatment at a top rehabilitation center in Chicago. Foxx's daughters shared an update stating that he has been out of the hospital for weeks and even played pickleball recently. In other news, Foxx and his daughter will co-host a new game show called We Are Family, premiering in 2024. And I put an S on the daughters because there are two daughters. I know we've been focusing on the older one, but the older daughter and the younger daughter have been the ones being seen coming in and out of this facility in Chicago that specializes in stroke aftercare.
Yeah, I mean, and shout out to Corinne Foxx and her sister. I just think the way they've handled this, they've handled this, with great respect to Jamie,
Grace.
To allow him to focus on his healing. And, I think they've handled him with a great deal of dignity. We haven't seen any photos leaked. We haven't seen any leaked video. And that's hard to do. Also, while acknowledging that they're probably a bit, out of sorts,
frazzled,
with the fact
that
that their father is not, 100% well. And so we're rooting for Jamie Foxx, as are so many other people, from the Get Well Soon.
Indeed.
Well, up next, they're the first size-inclusive bridesmaid gown. It's the first line. And they're Black-owned.
Yep, we're going to introduce you to the couple who started Bridal Babes and their new success since appearing on Shark Tank. You're watching Fox Soul's Black Report.
Welcome back to Fox Soul's Black Report. Well, former President Barack Obama recently held a gathering in Chicago to announce a new initiative of his My Brother's Keeper Alliance Foundation called MBK Model Communities.
Yeah, the initiative will support Black and Hispanic boys and young men who are most vulnerable for low academic achievement, unemployment, and incarceration. MBK Model Communities seeks to expand the implementation of evidence-based practices into communities of color across the nation.
Obama said in 2014, in the wake of Trayvon Martin's death, I challenged every community in the country to implement strategies to help boys and young men of color. Well, today, I'm proud to see the incredible impact My Brother's Keeper Alliance communities are having.
Yeah, I remember when he launched this, and it is so good to see that it is still up and running and really redirecting and enriching and enhancing the lives of our young Black men. As we know, they are precious and their lives matter, and we need them.
Yeah, and shout out to Dr. Adrian Wilson, who is the new executive director of My Brother's Keeper Alliance. They've been focused on communities across the nation, but Newark, New Jersey, Omaha, Nebraska, Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Yonkers. These seem to be the communities that they're really spotlighting and holding up. And there are a lot of different indicators that they're looking at, because if we're going to show up for, our boys and men of color, particularly our Black men and boys, one of the things we need to be aware of is graduation rates. There's so much about our future that's tied to graduating from high school, completing college or any sort of post-high school training, and of course keeping folks safe from violent crime. And so that seems to be where they're focused, and boy, do we need it.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. All right, we're going to move on here. An update to a story we told you about some months ago, as criminal charges against Black Colorado ranchers by the name of CW and his wife Nicole, their last name is Mallory, that included felony stalking, tampering with a utility meter, and petty theft were dismissed after months of disputes with a neighbor and local law enforcement. CW said that what began as online threats through Facebook escalated to violent crimes, including murdered animals and torn Black Lives Matter flags that left the Mallorys in fear of their safety, as the sheriff's office ordered the removal of security cameras from the couple's property, but allowed the neighbors to keep theirs. Now, all criminal charges have been dropped that came up against the two Black ranchers. All of them have been dismissed. That's good to hear.
After an internal investigation, the IRS has found that Black taxpayers are audited at higher rates than would be expected given their share of the U.S. population. The findings come after researchers earlier this year found that Black Americans are up to five times more likely to have their federal tax returns audited than taxpayers of other races. The tax agency's acknowledgement comes after lawmakers and policy experts called on the IRS to review its auditing processes following the findings about Black taxpayers. An earlier analysis also found that low-income Americans are 5 times as likely to get audited than any other filer, primarily because of the Earned Income Tax Credit, a benefit aimed at low-wage workers that has a high rate of erroneous claims.
Yeah, and we talked about this numerous of times here on FOXSOUL's Black Report. We even had a tax expert in, and I remember him alluding to this fact that we get audited more, and he said it had a lot to do with preparation and just lack of knowledge as to how to administer and really cover yourself in regards to what you owe or what you don't owe, what you can account for, what you can't account for. And so again, this report is really not surprising. I'm just hoping as soulmates we become a lot more vigilant. I know sometimes it's a cost concern with getting your taxes prepared, but I know for sure that there are a lot of services. I remember at a time when I was employed, I couldn't afford to go get my taxes done. I tapped into some services that I didn't have to pay for in order to properly make sure that my taxes were filed that particular year. And I just think you have to stay vigilant, because based upon these results, they come after us more so than others.
Yeah, and I think also, another factor that kind of surprised me in this story was the role of artificial intelligence, AI. And there are some folks at the IRS that are saying that the algorithm that's generated by AI technology, that there may be some implicit bias built into that algorithm. And so, we talk so much about AI. There's so many unknowns about AI. There's a lot of fear and anxiety about the use of artificial intelligence technology. Because of this, these technologies don't always recognize the disparities that they're creating or exacerbating. And so it's good to see that the IRS is going to be taking a little bit of that $80 million or $80 billion, I think, that the federal government recently gave the IRS. Are going to be taking a little bit of that to study how they can mitigate against the implicit bias in the system.
The people who program the AI. That's what I mean. Before the AI becomes the AI, there's somebody there programming it. And are they programming it, under the need to make sure it kind of shorts us? So that's where I start with the AI.
You say, is it really implicit bias?
Listen.
Or is it explicit bias? What is it?
There is, you figured that out. There is an expert platform. It's called Just Answer. So they recently published a workplace survey that found Blacks are more concerned about layoffs than white workers. 66% of Black employees and 55% of Hispanic employees expressed uncertainty about their future compared to white employees, of whom only 30% have shown concern. The survey of over 1,000 adults revealed that Black employees were about twice as likely as their white counterparts to negotiate their payouts. It also revealed that Black and Hispanic employees were more likely to pursue legal action if having experienced or witnessed something illegal at their workplace compared to white employees. And I think that was something like 58% of Black employees, Black and Hispanic employees who gonna run tell it, versus 30% of whites who are gonna kind of stay quiet and not ruffle the waves, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, these are interesting findings, though not very surprising.
Right.
We're living in a time where these layoffs, keep coming, in waves. I mean, we were just talking earlier about, David's Bridal, which is, one of the top, bridal stores, in the country nationwide, and they're laying off something like 9,000 employees, right? Well, they only got 10,000, right? And so I think it's going to be important for folks to look at, who is getting the brunt of it when it comes to these layoffs. We know that there's also the sort of war that's been declared on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so are we going to see those teams more quickly dismantled and laid off compared to other teams? And so we've got a lot to be on the lookout for.
We do.
still ahead? Could Jay-Z be looking to make another big-time business deal?
Yeah, and it's a big one, too, if he can pull it off. When we return, we'll tell you why he famously said he's not a businessman. He's business. He's a businessman. Okay, you're watching Fox Soul's Black Report.
Welcome back to Fox Soul's Black Report. Well, some potentially bad news for brides-to-be.
Yeah, Davis Bridal is filing for bankruptcy protection for the second time in 5 years. Locations will likely be closing in the next few months in various states, and employees will be laid off. For now, stores remain open, and the company says they expect dress orders will arrive on time and bridal appointments will not be affected. I'd like to see that happen if they're laying off folks. All right, there's one bridal shop that's taking us all by storm. They're the first bridal fashion company for multicultural women and women with curves, started by husband and wife duo Charles and Ashley Young. The company has already been flooded with lots of love since appearing on this season of Shark Tank. And now the owners of Bridal Babes are here with us on Fox Soul's Black Report. Want to welcome you both to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, Ashley, let's start with you. I was a recent bride. I wish I had known about you guys some months ago. It was definitely a challenge to find the right fit. On a good day, I'm a size 8, but I had to go all the way up to a size 14. We were tailoring the dress. They were cutting away all my money. I'm looking at it on the floor. Has that been part of the motivation of why you started Bridal Babes, so they can fit us, you know?
Exactly. Not just fit us, but also look like us, right? We have a particular style. We want curve hugging. We appreciate the curves, right? Curve hugging, we want to show it off, and we want fashion forward designs. And that's really why we started Bridal Babes, really to break the mold in the bridal fashion industry. We were done with cells and flowy dresses.
Right. I love it. I love it. All right, Charles. Shark Tank, it is no joke. Tell us what it was like standing in front of all of the sharks. And, you know, was a moment where you were sweating. You know, how did you push through with all that confidence to get what you wanted and do what you wanted to accomplish?
Well, I come from a sports background, played sports in college and all my life, so didn't necessarily feel a lot of pressure.
Okay.
We were so well, so really preparation was key. But I will say it was surreal actually being there, because we've always watched the show. You know, we've always wanted to be entrepreneurs. And so this was our dream, and we took a step up. So it was surreal to actually be on the Shark Tank set and actually be there looking, you know, at the furniture and say, whoa, this place is not as big as we thought it was on TV.
Right. It always looks different in person, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, probably not as intimidating in person as on TV. And we did see on the show that you guys ended up partnering with a Black British fashion guru, really celebrated, Emma Grede. Is that who you kind of like had in mind to partner with? And how has being in business with another sister, how has that worked in your favor?
Yeah, well, I'll kick it off because I'm the real Shark Tank fan. I used to force Charles to sit on the couch with me. So we actually had 2 other sharks in mind that we were pitching. Lori and Kevin kind of are the bridal HSN folks. So we thought that those would be our key sharks. But we found out a week or 2 before the show that Emma Grede would be on. And we knew at that time, oh, this is perfect. It's just like meant to be, right? The size inclusivity, the diversity, the fashion, just there were so many things that aligned. And of course, working with her, and she actually rolls her sleeves up and actually helps us map out so many different things from merchandising to strategy. It's just been wonderful.
Wow. So she's the real deal. So it's not just on TV. This is real deal. Now that the cameras are off, you guys are rolling up the sleeves and making this thing happen. That's good. That is really good to know, because she has conquered Britain, and now she is doing her thing here in the States. So what's the one mistake, us ladies in particular, us ladies of color, what is the big mistake that we make when we're looking for that one dress? It is always that one dress that we're always looking for, huh?
Yeah, well, since Charles manages operations and fulfillment, he can tell you about the main mistake, and it's sizing. We actually have been working on a few proprietary tools to help with sizing, also updating our fabrications to have even more stretch. also offer virtual consultations where we can walk the ladies through exactly how to get the right size. So sizing probably is the most difficult part of the process.
It is 100% the most difficult part of the process.
Yes, I believe that, because like I said, in real life, I'm about an 8 on a good day. And if I had more give and more stretch, I would have definitely probably either would have been able to stay with the 8 or maybe a 10, but having to go up to a 14, 16 and cut away so much of the dress was really heartbreaking. So with that in mind, how have you all really transformed, bridal babes in regards to, making it a good fit for brides and bridesmaids, finding that one dress? Your company has been transformative in that measure. Talk a little bit about some of the feedback that you're getting from bridal parties in regards to how you've been able to particularly service our culture.
Yeah, I think the main thing is making sure we have that full size range available. Through 5XL or 2 through 24. We never want there to be a case where a bridesmaid feels like, oh, I have to lose weight in order to be in this bridal party because I can't fit the dress that the bride wants me to be in. So we have made sure with all of our manufacturing partners that they are on board with that vision, right, of being able to service all bridesmaids of all shades, shapes, and sizes. And so that is so important to us. And of course, we have the constant feedback loop through our social media. So you can find us on Instagram, on TikTok, and the girls tell us what they want immediately. Like, you know what?
They do.
Where's the emerald green? Where's the sienna? We need the shades of melanin. They love sienna. Oh my goodness, that is like the color for us.
Yeah, I can only imagine. So talk a little bit real quick about how you go about designing the dresses, how you go about staying on trend. It's wedding season as we speak, and I know a lot of the soulmates are looking maybe for a particular style that's on trend with what's going on in the runways and all the bridal books. How do you guys stay on top of the pulse, if you will?
Sure. So I have to say my secret sauce is actually Charles. We were talking about this earlier today. So I work with our production and design team to ideate and create the design. We listen to our customers to determine which colorways we're going to do, like a hot pink or emerald green. Sure, we're breaking the molds, but the last step is always Charles, because he has the magic touch. If he does not love the dress, the girls are not going to love it either. So we know that, we have to make sure that he definitely vets the style. And because he's in the fulfillment center and constantly seeing like what's moving, where the quickest moving styles, he almost has this analytical mind where he's like a computer and he knows, okay, that neckline is going to sell. So do that one again, or we need floor length, we need midi. So we definitely work hand in hand among the entire team.
Come on, Charles. Come on, husband. We love it. We absolutely love it. You mentioned earlier some social media handles. Please, before we let you go today, let us know how we can link up, get in touch with you, follow you, learn more about your story across social media, maybe a website.
Yeah, so our website is www.bridalbabes.com. We're also on social media, Instagram @bridalbabes, and TikTok, the new place to be. We are there as well @bridalbabes.
I am so excited for you all. Charles, you got anything to say before we go?
Well, just thank you. I do want to give a shout out to Hampton. That's where I graduated from. So all my pirates out there. So that's it.
We love it. That's some of that HBCU shine. Thank you so much. Look, you all have been blessed and baptized as our new official soulmates. We must have you back. We appreciate you. God bless your journey and what I'd like to call a ministry, because you are saving lives for the Black brides. Indeed. Thanks so much for your time today. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks,
all right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yes, we certainly wish them the best. All right, coming up, the IRS is finally owning up to their practices.
We knew it all along. We'll tell you what the department fessed up to regarding audits. You are watching Fox Soul's Black Report. Soulmates, we'll be right back.
Welcome back to Fox Soul's Black Report. An 18-year-old has confessed to the killing of beloved rapper Pop Smoke.
That's right. Smoke was shot and killed at his residence in Hollywood Hills. This happened back in 2020. At the time of the shooting, the suspect was only 15 and admitted to the charges. this week. The suspect is expected to remain in juvenile until he turns 25. Pop Smoke was only 20 years old. This was a huge case. You know, there have been so many, there's a whole generation of rappers who've like come up via social media. So I wasn't really so familiar with Pop Smoke, but when I delve a little deeper, very popular, a legion of followers, and a devastating loss for hip hop.
And a loss of multiple lives. It's not just the loss of Pop Smoke, but the loss of his killer as well. I mean, these were two young guys, right? The fact that this guy, you know, killed him at the age of 15 and will be in juvie until he's 25. That's just 10 years right there, right? You're not including, you know, whatever additional years he might serve, you know. And you know, this is just another example of the epidemic of gun violence in our country, and it's also the epidemic of violence just among our youth. I mean, these are two lives, you know, that have been cut short in dramatically different ways, and this isn't just a one-off, but you know, this is a part of a trend that we need to stop. Well, fans are showing concern after Lizzo cancels a concert in Montreal due to flu-like symptoms. The singer tweeted about having a 102-degree fever and listing her symptoms, including sore throat, headache, and chills. Lizzo promises to honor fans' tickets with a rescheduled show. Her next performance is set for tomorrow in Hartford, Connecticut, but it's unclear if she'll recover in time to perform.
Ooh, well, taking a look at the B-roll, I love all of those outfits that we just took a look at. She says she's tested thus far negative for COVID-19. So her last performance was actually late April 26th, I do believe. She was in Memphis, and then she went on down to Tennessee and really supported all of the drag performers with that performance down there. So it better not be, you know, social media, Black Twitter, it better not be no CO-inspiracy, because that was the last performance she gave before she fell ill. But of course, we wish her the best.
Yeah, I mean, what a great performer and activist. And so rest up, Lizzo, and get back on stage soon.
That's right. All right, New York City now was recently approved for a gaming license, and in an open letter, Jay-Z's entertainment company, Roc Nation, listed out the reasons why his group should have the winning hand in the bid. Now, the company says it's about supporting New York City workers and bringing in more tourists. Roc Nation is promising to commit $115 million for diverse theater programs that includes daycare for Broadway workers and their families.
That could go a long way.
Push on over.
That could go a long way. You know, look, daycare ain't cheap.
It is not.
For friends of ours and family members that have to pay for daycare, I mean, that's more than a couple grand a month. And so often, you know, families have to make the decision, you know, can they afford for one person to sort of stay home until the kids are, you know, 5 years old and off to school. And so, you know, that alone would be, you know, a big boon to Broadway folks in New York. But, you know, it'd also be a boon to the economy in New York. There are some people that say, it's great. It's great that you're wanting to bring this to New York, you know, but a big casino like that can make a big difference in other parts of the country, you know, that don't already have a lot going on.
Yeah, and then one of our own, you know, culturally speaking, to be in there as, you know, an owner or someone who, you know, has some heavy weight in the property and going forth with that particular project, it's a good look. I've been a nanny before. They're grown now in their late 20s and 30s, but I took a summer off to help my aunt and my uncle out, because daycare, even back then, we're talking the 90s, where it was extremely expensive. And that's probably why I don't have children today.
You got your fill?
Whoa, yeah, two. Yeah, two of them. That was enough for me. That was it.
Boy and a girl?
It was two boys, and one was just an absolute crybaby, and the other one just was like a renegade, just didn't care. It was a gangster baby. So I was like, I'm good on kids. Really, that really had a lot to do with it. I wanted to, you know, that, and then I wanted to be a preschool teacher. That was good. I was good. I was being honest. I was good. But that, you know, that is so much dedication and effort. I was a camp counselor for 18 4-year-olds. And every 2 weeks, the 4-year-olds would switch. So I have a different set of 18-year-olds. Because I was preparing for, like, hey, do I really? I'm good.
Well, we're lucky that didn't work out, and that we have you right here with us.
Teachers, educators, administrators, all of those folks who deal with the young people, A chef's kiss. I couldn't do it.
God bless him.
God bless him.
And bless the live-action Little Mermaid star, Halle Bailey, who is one of the most anticipated releases this year. And now her doll is the most popular online.
Yay.
The official Halle Bailey doll released on April 23rd. And it's had quite the wait list following a whole bunch of pre-orders. This all comes after Halle previewed the doll on her Instagram page back in March. The doll's most popular site right now, besides Disney, is Amazon.
Take that, naysayers, because when they announced that this young lady was going to be the mermaid, there was a lot of folks upset about that thing, even after production, was ongoing and it has concluded. And now you see the trailer, the hatred spewed over social media, Twitter in particular, over the hatred over the mermaid being black. How come a mermaid couldn't be black? And somebody on Black Twitter answered, it was the ultimate answer. Response clapped back and it went viral. All the slaves that y'all threw over into the ocean, and you thinking that a mermaid can't be black. I was like, argument over, leave it up to Black Twitter to give it to you.
That's a Twitter mic drop right there.
Baby, was it not?
Oh my goodness.
But I'm so happy for her, and it just shows that if you stay on that positive, path, and sometimes it's hard to disregard the comments because they're so mean and evil, but it sounds like she's got some solid family and her village is solid, and she's just as pretty and beautiful and composed, and I'm hoping this movie does exceptionally well.
And it's also another reminder that, sometimes those voices...
ability to determine her destiny. You're watching FOXSOUL's Black Report.
An 11-year-old kid from Chicago has created a hoodie for anyone dealing with autism or sensory processing disorder.
Some people find it calming to carry fidgets or rub certain textures when they're in overstimulating situations. Malachi's hoodie features patches that you can actually touch and a rope in pockets so you can self-soothe discreetly.
That's right. The fifth grader says the goal behind the clothing line is to help kids feel comfortable and confident in any environment.
Of our sensory adaptations are, as you can see, the fleece lining inside of our hoodies. We have strings inside of our hoodies that you could play with.
It's all in the design. At 11 years old, Malachi Rucker has a trademark for his brand and a patent that's in the works for his hoodie. It all started when he was 3 years old and diagnosed with autism.
Well, a lot of kids bullied me because I had to go to special classes or do certain things.
Bullied also because certain environments trigger an emotional response for the middle schooler, and fabrics and textures can make it worse. Fast forward to a year ago, and that's when the fifth grader had the genius idea to help stop other kids from being bullied, creating Divergent Clothing Company.
I started this business because of people who are neurodivergent, hence the name. And people who are neurodivergent have autism, dyslexia, ADHD, which means they just have sensory disorders.
On his website, divergentclothingco.com, you can customize the $85 hoodie for sensory needs. It allows anyone with a sensory processing disorder to discreetly self-soothe.
Well, some kids, they feel that they don't feel comfortable even with things like my magnetic rings. They just don't feel comfortable at all. They don't want anyone to know. So my hoodies kind of help them.
Rucker is celebrating his uniqueness and wants you to celebrate yours too. He also has shirts that have positive affirmations.
Genius Jeans, it's what it sounds like, that even though you're different, you are brilliant, you're a genius, you are amazing just the way you are.
Danielle Knox, Fox News.
Genius jeans.
What a great story.
I love that.
What a great story. I mean, look at how far we've come. I mean, I remember when, years ago, I have a cousin who's autistic, Einstein, and I remember, the stigma that existed way back when.
I love the name.
Yes.
His name is Einstein.
We have incredible names in my family.
Well, obviously, yes. Quarterline.
Yes. But I mean, I remember, years ago when he was diagnosed as having autism and being on the spectrum, and a lot of people just didn't know a lot about it, right? And so now today we know so much more about it, about the sensory overload overload that can happen sometime. And what just a really cool, neat idea to show up for the folks that are on the spectrum and also create some pretty stylish hoodies. And so I'm looking forward to going back upstairs to the office and putting in my order
what was it called?
For the hoodie. It's called Divergent Clothing Company.
Divergent Clothing Company. And my takeaway is that it's just that, to your point, it is a spectrum. And, people fall on all, parts of that spectrum. And so we can't be so quick, or shouldn't at all, stigmatize what autism, what you think it looks like, or what it's supposed to look like, or what you've been told it looks like. Because this young man is absolutely brilliant. And to think, through any challenges he may have, to not only soothe himself, but others, it's amazing.
Yeah. And look at what young black boys are doing in Chicago. We talk about some of the violence that's taking place in Chicago all the time. I want people to bring that same energy to the story of this
and support this young man. That's right.
That's doing incredible work. And so we should all go to Divergent Clothing Company and support him because he is doing work to uplift our community.
All right.
Speaking of uplifting the community, Gertrude Oforiwa Fefome of Ghana is the new chair of the United Nations Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, the first African woman in that post.
Wow. CRPD is a group that protects and advocates for the rights of people with disabilities. Fifo Ami has spent her career serving this community by helping get more women elected to the committee. Alongside her work for the UN, her main role is Global Advocacy Manager at Sight Savers. It's an international organization that strives to promote the rights of those with disabilities.
Fifo Ami also serves as the Africa president of the International Council of People with Visual Impairment and has been involved with the World Blind Union. She has been fighting for folks with disabilities for a very long time, and it's good to see the United Nations supporting her leadership.
Yeah.
The first African woman in this role.
And she wasn't,
and from Ghana nonetheless.
Nonetheless, and she wasn't born blind. She eventually lost her sight. So that's another component of her fight and her advocacy is that you have some who are born blind, and then you some who lose their sight, and those are different needs as well. And so she's very well respected and has moved around those circles, and congratulations to her.
I mean, it's hard work. It's hard work to do for anybody, let alone somebody, who is also living with a disability. And so we love to see it.
We love to see. We love our Black excellence. And before the show, we were talking a little bit upstairs about what's trending on social media. So we got into it. We want to share a little bit before we get out of here. You talk a little bit about it.
So Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union, are all over social media right now because Gabrielle Union did an interview saying that they split their bills 50-50. And the internet went off and said, wait a minute, Dwayne Wade makes 6 times as much as Gabrielle Union. What's this 50-50 thing? And I said I'm not surprised because Gabrielle Union really is sort of, a modern woman, a contemporary woman.
Okay.
Who, it's not about
So am I.
Dwayne Wade taking care of her.
But guess what?
But them taking care of each other.
Okay, I'm a modern woman.
And that's what works for them.
Well, exactly. But you know how we do on social media. We get into all kind of conversations. I mostly take care of the petty bills. That would be like the utilities and things like that. But the major ticket prices there, the husband. And he does, and he says, "You want me to take care of that?" And I go, "No, because I feel like I need to contribute." But let him, let him have it. I'd be at home eating bonbons on the couch every day, like a madam.
I mean, I think maybe for gay couples, maybe it's sort of more 50-50.
But y'all be more rich though. If I could just speak.
What do you mean
okay,
more?
If I could throw
what
it back.
Do you mean more
because
rich?
A lot of times men make more. So when you have 2 men together, y'all, your income is off the rails.
But that isn't always the case. That isn't always the case. And I think
sometimes
we're gonna get back to this.
We are, because I got to tell the folks.
I'm not through with you.
I know you're not. That's why we got into it upstairs. We had to talk about it. For the full rundown on today's stories and more, you can access FOXSOUL's video on demand on any of our partners. You can even access past shows and other Black-centered content. Don't forget to download the FOXSOUL app. It's free. I'm Courtney Hicks.
And I'm Nicordelai Corte. Until next time, stay lifted. Split it 50-50.
Have a D. Have a D.